Dan Campbell and Kyle Shanahan are completely different human beings. Like down to their core and how they eat breakfast, they're different. I really believe that. They go about things in totally different ways. And in this season of football, they're sitting in a game, which means they've delivered certainly comparable results. Both teams 12-5. It shows you that there's more one way to skin a cat. I think Kyle absolutely relishes his, professorial sort of approach to the game of football as much as Dan Campbell relishes his I'm a former player who is now a coach, and he embraces, and I mean this in the best possible way, he embraces all the personality traits of being a meathead, and it absolutely is a source of energy that his own team feeds off of. You and I had a lot of fun with this.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
That is who he is. I mean, I really mean it. That should go on Dan Campbell's tombstone one day because it explains who he is. He's a guy who doesn't talk like a trained media professional because he's not dealing with trained media professionals unless he's in the actual press conference and they eat up everything he says anyways. This is a guy who really knows how to talk to his players and identify with them because he was a former player. Now, Kyle does it in a much different way. Just as effective, if not already proven more effective. Kyle lets everyone know not just how to do it, but why it's being done. He is more of a teacher, where Dan Campbell is more of a gym teacher. But they both have worlds to live and succeed in and thrive in the NFL. It shows you that there are different ways to go about finding success in this league. It's an incredible difference of head coaches who are both now going after the same thing.
No doubt. No doubt. Dan Campbell, I think a lot of us thought, oh, man. I mean, Dan Campbell played for the team that I root for in college football, Texas A&M, and he is a tough guy. He's a tough guy. But you know what I love about him? He's real. And when you're the one thing you have to be, and so's Kyle Shanahan, by the way, as far as he doesn't have the ridiculous toughness of Dan Campbell, but he's real. Why do guys run through a wall for Kyle Shanahan? Because he shoots you straight. You may not like to hear it, Jimmy Ward, but he shoots you straight. He tells you what's up. And if that means he's got to be harsh, then he's harsh. But Dan Campbell is an incredible leader. He has done what so many have talked about doing, which is we're going to change a culture. He went into Detroit. We know the culture of Detroit football. They're losers, and they've always been losers. I mean, not always, but for all of our lifetime. And that's a long time. We're talking about 50 years of losing. So they're losers, and he's made them winners. And his guys play. Now, are they the most talented team? They got, as I said, they've got 8 great players, but they also have some weaknesses. And they can be beat, but he's captivating in front of a group of people. Here he is yesterday. Listen to this.
In the game, you play, man. You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you, we talked about it all year. This started a long time ago. You're built for this. You're built for this, man. And look what you guys did. You went out there, and it's another hot team that we knocked off. It's the next hot team that you knock off. Do you know how hard it is to win this league in the playoffs? Do you understand what you're doing right now? What we're capable of? That's 2. All right? That's 2. We got 2 to go. With a bye in the middle.
So there you go. I mean, a little taste of Dan Campbell there. The guy is real. He's a straight shooter. He's got Brad Holmes is an outstanding young general manager. They're hitting in the draft. They've hit, albeit they've gotten some really high picks because of how bad they've been, right? That the Niners got Nick Bosa. Well, they got Aiden Hutchinson, So, I mean, they're fast. They're physical. They're really tough to stop on offense. They're hard hitting on defense. And bring it on, man. Bring it on. This is going to be a battle royale. Once again, if you're one of these Niner offensive weapons, Kittle's going to get hit. Debo, I don't know how that shoulder is going to be. Niners need him bad. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going to hit him. So the Niners have advantages in this game, and we'll get to them, but do not show up for this game thinking that this is going to be, I think Green Bay could have been better in certain areas than Detroit, but Detroit's harder hitting for sure. And it's going to be incredibly physical. And here's the other one too. The Niner D-line, who didn't sack the quarterback last week. Granted, Green Bay was number 2 pass block win rate. Detroit's 14th. But Detroit will run. Their run blocking O-line is dominating. And the 49er D-line better eat their Wheaties this week, because the 49er D-line is going to have a hard time winning this game. They got 3 really good offensive linemen.
Dan Campbell is coming to Santa Clara to run the ball down the 49ers' throat. Make no mistakes about it.
Yeah.
That's the game plan. It's more of that's the game plan than when Larry and I were talking about, hey, when the Packers get to town, Kyle Shanahan should really figure out a way to get 40, 45 carries out of all that stable of talent in his backfield and blah, 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 blah. And that was a way to go about it, and they didn't really go about it that way, and they still got it done. The Lions aren't getting this done without running the ball down the 49ers' throat. Dan Campbell knows that. And so that's what they're coming to do. Mark my words, mark Larry's words. That's exactly what this team's coming to do. And again, in the postseason, an awful lot rides on the play of your quarterback. And Niners fans went through that almost to the negative in the divisional round because it was not a great day for Brock Purdy. Maybe wasn't even as bad as some of us thought it was the first time we looked at it. And we'll go back through that game in a minute. But the number one way to beat the Detroit Lions is in the air. They do not do well against an aggressive downfield passing attack. And when it comes to getting beat by downfield passes, the 49ers have given up some big plays downfield, in the air, chunk plays. The Lions really don't attack. Like, they keep Jared Goff in a box that he's successful in. You still want to attach the game manager to him. He shouldn't be offended by it, and he's had great success with it. Jared Goff is 60 minutes away from appearing in his second Super Bowl on another team, and they're still going to call him a system quarterback, Larry. But he takes what is given to him. He's a smart quarterback. Jared Goff he makes the right choices. And in that regard, there's an awful lot of similarity between he and Brock Purdy. He doesn't put the ball at risk. This is something he might have done a little bit too much when he was with Los Angeles. It's changed. And I don't know if Dan Campbell's responsible for that change, or the robust running attack, or more talent around him, or the protection that he gets. But this is a better Jared Goff than we absolutely remember. Going back,
and they don't, on Goff, by the way, 67% in the regular season, 30 touchdowns, 12 picks, passer rating of 97.9. He was good against the Bucs yesterday, 287, 2 touchdowns. But the defining characteristic of Detroit, they don't throw deep a lot. They throw deep just 7% of the time. It's the lowest rate in the entire NFL. But what they do is Goff is absolutely laser focused in the short and intermediate areas. And they've got Laporta and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. And it's a very difficult thing to stop. So the Niners are going to have to get up on the line of scrimmage and really challenge these guys inside of a 10 to 12 yard box and absolutely challenge every throw. And it's going to be difficult to do because Amon-Ra is a better individual receiver than any of Green Bay's receivers.
He had a monster year that probably should have put him in the Pro Bowl. Again, but overlooking Detroit Lions and their success, it's easy to do. This has been a eminently dismissible franchise throughout really the entirety of the franchise's history. But this is a good football team. And I know that there are some people already in the chat saying, oh boy, Damon and Larry are going the boys who cried wolf 2 weeks in a row. Did we cry wolf on the Green Bay Packers, or did you nearly shit your pants as you almost lost a home game to the Green Bay Packers?
I mean, seriously, you can sit there and say we're crying wolf, or did we have the best preview of the game when there were other people saying the Niners were going to win by 4 touchdowns, and I said, be very, very, very afraid of Green Bay. They have every possibility of rolling into your place and handing you a playoff defeat. How's that looking right now?
It's almost like we kind of know what we're talking about. I'm not saying we totally know what we're talking about, but we kind of know what we're talking about. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. If you'd kind of like to support what you're watching, we'd really appreciate it. Memberships available on both channels. This is nothing short of the fastest growing 49er content show out there in the world. So we thank you so much for being here to support Wake Up. It's great to have you here. And just to get back to, because I just think it's absolutely a fascinating thing to talk about, the different style of coaches in this game and how you can get similar results with different styles. And I really think, Larry, to go back to why these locker rooms buy 2 very different salesmen is because they're authentic. You said it.
That's it.
They are authentic. Kyle is who he is, and he doesn't pretend to be anyone he isn't. And sometimes that means he is aloof. He is acting a touch, I think I'm smarter than you. But he's also got the resumes and credentials to back that up. Dan Campbell, I remember when he was hired, Ray Ratto nearly fell out of his chair thinking that this was going to be a failure because NFL locker rooms don't buy rah-rah bullshit, and they really don't. If all it is just rah-rah. Campbell's a rah-rah guy, but he's more than that. There's substance to his rah-rah-rahness, and players do feed sometimes off of less intellectual approach and more just straight up grab your hat, let's go hit somebody. And Dan Campbell preaches that. He preaches that. I saw another video this week that goes back to a scene from Hard Knocks this year where he was basically saying, guys, I just need you to trust me. I'm going to make you tougher than you've ever been in your entire life. And our practices are going to be hell in order for that to be the outcome. But you got to trust me. I know what I'm doing. I wouldn't do anything that I didn't think was the best thing for you. So while you're sitting here motherfucking me because there's another full pads practice, you need it. We have to change the way we behave in this city of Detroit. And I mean, the team was just sitting there and they felt like they were ready to hit him in the post-practice scrum. I mean, they were ready to go. They were ready to do another full pads practice when he was done. Larry, I don't know what the average IQ of an NFL locker room is. I think maybe the lowest IQ'd locker room out there might be a baseball clubhouse because you got so many guys just coming out of high school. Like they don't even have a college course under their belts. Maybe the worst red clubhouse is a major league clubhouse or an NBA clubhouse. I don't know. No one's there to play school anymore. But what every single locker room that I've ever been in and you've ever been in is really good at is detecting bullshit. That's maybe the greatest attribute of professional athletes. They got incredible bullshit detectors. They really do. And they know whether the person coaching them or selling them, whatever the game plan is or this week's list of priorities is, they know whether it's authentic or this is bullshit. This is real or this is not. They have incredible detectors. And if Dan Campbell were bullshit, even a lousy Lions locker room would have sniffed that out. So,
well, I mean, there's two things too. I mean, you win in the NFL when you got great players playing great. I know that sounds super simplistic, but you need one guy to get you great players, and then you need one guy to make them play great. And Dan Campbell will make you play and play as hard as you can. And then he's surrounded himself with Aaron Glenn, who's a terrific young defensive coordinator. And their offensive coordinator is equally great and going to be a head coach in a matter of minutes. And nobody knows Brad Holmes. So let me just tell you about Brad Holmes real quick. He was a Rams director of college scouting from 2013 through 2020. And in that window, the Rams added Aaron Donald, LaMarcus Joyner, some really good players, Rob Havenstein,
Cooper Kupp.
Todd Gurley, Tyler Higbee, Jared Goff, which is part of the reason that they were happy to take Goff, because Brad Holmes was the guy who originally drafted Goff. He said, I'll take him here. Samson Ebukam, Niner fans remember him. Josh Reynolds, John Johnson, Cooper Kupp, as Damon said, not in the first round, Cooper Kupp in the third round. Gerald Everett, Sebastian Joseph Day, who the Niners now have on the defensive line, pretty good football player. So I mean, Notaboom, who's hurt right now, but he's a pretty good football player. Taylor Rapp, Darrell Henderson, David Long. Some good players, some absolutely good players. So Brad Holmes knows talent. They brought in some help as far as a veteran guy to help him out in the draft because he was new to it. So they've got John Dorsey, who's a fantastic, he's kind of like a Scott McLuhan at this point. He's a really, really good personnel guy who used to be a general manager who now gets hired basically, it seems like every couple of years by somebody else to be a draft consultant. So they had John Dorsey in the room, and they hit. They hit on all these draft picks. And by the way, the most significant offseason move in the NFL may have been the Eagles losing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and the Lions gaining Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Look at the difference in those two teams, largely due to that one player. So they've got, they got a guy who gets them great players, and they got a head coach who gets it out of them, and two really talented young coordinators. That's it. They're there. They're real. So the Niners know they're real.
Well,
they're not going to sneak up on anybody.
One of the reasons why they're real is because they got instant returns, and it's why they're ahead of schedule. And the Lions, last year was a step forward. This year was supposed to be another step forward. It's, the playing with an expectation of having a good year was supposed to be the box that was checked by the Lions this year. No one really had the Lions like, yeah, I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Like, you were a Lions fan if you were really saying that. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, as you've already said, 4 players who are among the best players on the team, and they're all rookies. They got instant dividends from the talent that they drafted. And when you do that, it accelerates, it puts on steroids a team's timeline. So there's an element of too young to even feel the pressure of the moment. So that should keep them loose and dangerous. And they've also got, a guy like Jared Goff, who has been highly touted, overrated, underrated, appreciated, not appreciated, got to get better with the trade. Got to trade you to get better. That's a tough thing for a quarterback of all positions, Larry, to hear. In order for us to get better, we're going to improve, not the blocking you receive, not a couple, catchers around you or anything like that. We're going to improve you. We're bringing in a better quarterback than you are. And look, the Rams, they made the right choice. They won a Super Bowl making that move. But the Detroit Lions did not take this big step back. And they got a guy who absolutely could have, kind of sulked or pouted or just gotten that big paycheck and sort of played out the string in Detroit, and who really cares, because no one's expecting anyone to be good in Detroit, not ever. And I got a pretty girlfriend, fiance, and Goff's life will be, really good when he has made his fortune in the NFL, gets out while he can still walk when he's an old man, and he's going to come back to the Bay Area and buy a gorgeous house up in Marin and just live a great life. Like, it was all set up for easy street. No one's going to hold it against you if you don't find success in Detroit, Jared Goff. And look at where he is. Look at where he is. He's coming back to Santa Clara. He's coming back to Northern California, where he played his high school and college ball, where he grew up, to try to go to the Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions.